Gregory. Welcome to a quick theory because I haven't released a video in an actual month. Candi, where have you been? I wanted to say I went a little manic, but then I wasn't sure if that was one of those words that you've heard used one way your whole life, only to discover that it's actually a psychological symptom that's really serious, and people started borrowing the word to talk about a related but far less harmful experience, and then the meaning of the word got clouded. So I looked it up, and I'm pretty sure that's exactly what happened to that word. So I won't say I went manic, because I don't have a diagnosis for anything for which mania is a symptom. Therefore, I experienced an excessive hyperfocus, wrote an entire D&D setting and campaign from scratch, someone in my life passed away, and then I spent the holidays with my family. Kinda wild. The break was actually super nice, and I've got a lot of projects I'm working on that hopefully you'll hear about if I see any of them through to conclusion. Thank you for listening to the little life update. I know most of you don't click on FNAF theories to hear the personal struggles of the YouTuber who's making them, but my regular viewers and commenters are always super kind to me, and I kinda went radio silent on them, so I wanted to explain. On to FNAF. Security breach. You know it, you love it. Wait, no you don't, it's a buggy mess. Wait, yes you do, it has Glamrock Freddy. Wait, no you don't, the story isn't what Scott intended. Wait, yes you do, look how cool this Pizzaplex is. Wait, no you don't, your crap PC couldn't even run the game on release. Wait, yes you do, it has Roxanne Wolf. Whatever your relationship, most people agree that the strong point of the game is the new band, with the possible exception of Montgomery Gator. People really dug these characters. They're complex, interesting, they have a cool narrative arc that gets picked up with Ruin, and we're mostly excited to see them again. Even Monty gets a lot of love these days after the release of the interactive novel VIP. Every time there's a new Freddy's band, we ask ourselves the question, why the redesign? And 200% of the time, the answer is because Fazbear is trying to rebrand to make people forget about the horrors. The Missing Children's Incident? Rebranded the toys. Bite of 87? Rebranded the classics. Springlock failure? Here, wear these temporary costumes that we found on short notice. Alright, I exaggerated. It's not 200% of the time. Because there's also another reason why we might get a new look for the band. Because we're seeing their broken down versions. The original designs, scrapped down to the withers. Circus Baby's Funtime friends, amalgamated into the scraps. The Glamrocks themselves, shattered and ruined versions. The Glamrocks certainly fall into the first category. They are a rebrand to cover up the horrors. Fazbear turned from being a regular old corporation to being sort of a megacorp, and hoped the older generations would forget what happened at those ancient restaurants and bring their kids around to spend money. But they did something unheard of in all of FNAF history. Replaced some of the characters. What? What do you mean sister location did it first? What's a sister location? Who let you in here? And the mystery was intense. Remember how many videos were made on what happened to Glamrock Buunny? We had this tantalizing mystery of a once beloved Glamrock who mysteriously disappeared. There was a Glamrock Buunny. We have all the evidence, but he got replaced by the alligator mask character from Happiest Day with anger issues. Similarly mysterious, but much less prominent, was the mystery of Glamrock Foxy, because there's really no evidence there ever was one. It seems like from the moment there was a Glamrock band, there was a Roxanne Wolf. Where's Foxy is not as big a mystery as where's Buunny, because the answer is kinda there. They went from Fox to Wolf, from boy to girl, from Foxy to Roxy. Was there a Glamrock Foxy? Yes and no. It's Roxy. Roxy is clearly meant to be the rebrand of the fourth K9 member of the band. It's just that the rebrand was so intense that Roxy doesn't feel like Foxy now. She's her own character. Clearly, people in-universe felt that way too, because Fazbear kept the character of Foxy separated by making the Captain and Cowboy Foxy versions of the characters that can still be found in odd corners of the Pizzaplex. Out of universe, in this here universe we're in now, Foxy has historically been a pretty beloved character, and though I think they nailed Roxy to make her beloved as well, it was an interesting choice to sideline our favorite speedy pirate. But it makes like 800% sense when you walk yourself through the history of Fazbear. I'm just throwing out random percents in this video. Percents are cool. Let's look at the history of Foxy and see why Mr. Burrows or whoever was in charge of the rebrand would have no reason to make a Glamrock Foxy character. All things began at Fredbear's Family Diner, unless they began at Fall Fest or in this weird wagon. At Fredbear's, we have the bear and the bunny. They are the animatronics. But we know the upcoming classic cast exists at this point because there are plushies and the Fredbear and Friends show. How prevalent the Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy lineup is at this point is unclear, but it seems that at least in this town where Fredbear's located, it's quite popular. The kids around Fredbear's have toys of the show characters, as does Dave himself. Fredbear's turns into Freddy Fazbear's, where the first location of note is the location of the Missing Children's Incident, or MCI, when William Afton, co-owner of the burgeoning franchise, killed 5 kids and stuffed them in the animatronics. We know at the MCI location they started out with the Fredbear and Spring Bonnie character. Sometime before the MCI took place, presumably pretty early on in the life of that location, the Springlock technology in those suits proved to be deadly, and those characters members were permanently retired, making room for the core 4 band we know and love. And it's when the core 4 are the band that the killing happens. Freddy Fazbear's is at its peak popularity leading up to the MCI killings. The MCI marks the beginning of a long and painful fall from grace that takes a little over 30 years to finally dissolve the company. Almost everything we really see of Fazbear Incorporated, meaning the Fazbear Corporation as it existed from FNAF 1 to FNAF 6, is this long, drawn-out death of the company after its fall from grace. And we just get glimpses into the heyday through a few cutscenes and by digging into the lore. The FNAF 3 location, Fazbear's Fright, the horror attraction, and more importantly, the Mega Pizzaplex, are both trying to play off the nostalgia of Freddy Fazbear's in different ways. Fazbear's Fright is trying to play off the blend between nostalgia and the dark rumors of what really happened at those old pizzerias. The Mega Pizzaplex wants all the benefits of nostalgia with none of the horrors. That means the Mega Pizzaplex is 90% of the time going to be looking to the MCI location as it was during the height of its popularity, up until the MCI blew up in their face. Even though we see them taking a little bit of inspiration from other locations like Circus Baby's Entertainment and Rental, not Circus Baby's Pizza World, that place was literally only open a day, they take elements from old Fazbear in proportion with how nostalgic people feel about that location. So let's zoom in on the restaurant as it was just before the MCI, which by my estimation is the absolute height of Fazbear's popularity and therefore nostalgia. Let's go to June 1985. We have one really solid depiction of this location. Well, we have 4: a short story, a graphic novel, a video game, and an interactive novel, Into the Pit. In every iteration of Into the Pit, a young boy named Oswald who lives in the 2010s-ish spends a lot of time at a dingy pizzeria, but discovers a time-traveling ball pit that transports him to the same building in 1985, where we find out this building used to be the Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, and Oswald is there right before the MCI takes place. Between the 4 retellings of this story, we get a pretty good look at a normal June day at that location. It's packed, it's bright, all the latest arcades are there, lines are long, prizes are cool, but even if one of these 4 retellings is meant to be in the continuity of the games, we can't rely wholly on it to show us what really was, because Oswald is not exactly in the past. It's more supernatural than that. Oswald is sort of seeing the shadow of things that were. He's there in a pretty real and literal sense. I mean, he can have an effect on the future in this past, but it's still not the true past, because there's this toothy yellow bunny creature that's both there and not there. It's this monstrous shadow of the event that's about to take place that he sees, instead of the real MCI killings. He doesn't see Afton, he sees a creature. He doesn't see the slow discovery of the tragedy, the linking it to Freddy's, the parents filing missing persons report for their kids and holding out hope for days, weeks, years as the bodies are never found. Instead, he sees an attack with people running and screaming and bodies in the open. Which is to say, Oswald doesn't see a one-to-one with the past. He sees the past through the eyes of an MCI victim. He sees the past through the eyes of an average 10-year-old kid who lived around Freddy's in 1985. Which, for the purposes of figuring out how the Pizzaplex nostalgia baits people via careful rebranding, is way more perfect than if it was one-to-one. The 10-year-olds of 1985 saw endless fun and excitement, tasted delicious pizza, played the coolest arcades, hung out with their best friends, and chuckled at the little 7-year-olds who thought the animatronic band were cool instead of a little unsettling. The animatronic band of Freddy, Buunny, and Chica, not Foxy. For some reason, whenever Oswald is in the past, it's always the brown bear, the blue rabbit, and the bird girl. The Into the Pit video game doubles down on this. The Pirates Cove curtain is closed. 2 kids in the corner named Foxy Fan and Pirate Fan say they miss Foxy, but that they too wouldn't want to come back if they were out sailing the 7 seas. Foxy is already out of commission with a cover story by the time of the MCI. Apparently. When Foxy became out of order, as we see him in FNAF 1, was never entirely clear. A very solid theory was that all the classics went out of order and became wizards in FNAF 2, where they were used for parts. And Foxy was just never repaired in time for FNAF 1. But Into the Pit seems to imply that Foxy was broken even before he was taken for parts. In addition, many people theorize that Funtime Foxy was tried out at the MCI location for a time as well, because in FNAF 2, Phone Guy implies that the Mangle, aka the torn apart Funtime Foxy, has been in service for long enough for the staff to give up repairing him. And the FNAF 2 location barely made it to 2 weeks. That's hardly long enough to establish a pattern like that. So most people think the Foxy rebrand and the mangling happened at the earlier location. Foxy's reign of popularity must have been very short-lived. Between the opening and closing of the MCI location, Foxy went from his classic design to disrepair and being a closed attraction, to being rebranded as pink and white, to being a mangled mess of parts. Then again, the character of Foxy endures all the way up to the Pizzaplex era. When thinking through this question of where is Glamrock Foxy, the issue slowly turned from why isn't Foxy Foxy more important to the Pizzaplex to how did he make it there at all? Roxy is still, after all, an homage to Foxy in many ways. And though Foxy's rebranding is not front and center, it's still prominent in the daycare. He's got merch and a movie playing in the daycare theater. Foxy seemingly never really got his moment in this universe. There was no prolonged period where he could have built up a following, and yet he did. Because he's remembered. He must have had some really strong fans to keep his image profitable all this time. And he did, because Foxy is beloved in-universe for the same reason he is out-of-universe. A pirate fox animatronic that hums and is really fast is cool. And people dig him. We like him, Phone Guy likes him, kids like him, Foxy appreciation video. I'm Candy Bunny, and I have candy all day. Candy, candy, candy.